Welcome, you curious learners, to another deep dive. Have you ever found yourself feeling, a really powerful emotion, but just struggling to find the exact word for it?
Mm,
Or maybe wondered why understanding feelings, ours or others, feels so, essential for truly connecting?
yeah.
Today, we're diving into that profound world, human emotion and connection.
And our source material for this deep dive is really quite remarkable. Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart.
Ah, yes.
It's a work that, meticulously combines solid research with these incredibly relatable personal stories. It offers us a kind of map, really, to navigate the, let's face it, often complex landscape of our inner worlds.
Right, a map. I like that. And our mission today is to sort of distill the most vital insights from this atlas. We're going to explore how getting a precise handle on our emotions
Hmm.
and the emotions of people around us, how they can be a direct path to deeper connection and to living what Brown calls a more wholehearted life.
Exactly.
Think of it as maybe boosting your emotional literacy, tailored just for you.
And it's striking how foundational this understanding really is. Brown shares research, I think it was over 7,000 people,
Wow.
and found that on average, they could only name about 3 emotions while they were actually feeling them: happy, sad, and angry.
Just three.
Just 3. And if you connect that to the philosopher Wittgenstein's idea, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world, it really begs the question: what does it mean for our internal world if this vast range of human emotion is, well, stuck behind such limited vocabulary?
That's a huge question. It suggests language isn't just like communicating emotion after the fact.
Right.
It might actually shape what we're feeling, helping us pinpoint and navigate it inside ourselves and with others. Brown calls this emotional granularity,
Emotional granularity, yeah.
and it feels like a game changer. So for you listening, this means getting practical tools, tools to navigate your own inner landscape with hopefully far greater clarity and intention.
Absolutely. It's about moving beyond just good or bad.
Okay, so let's begin by looking at how Brown's own journey kind of sparked this incredible research.
Yeah.
She describes growing up in a family where the rule was basically suck it up, get it done, and don't talk about feelings.
Sounds familiar to many, I'd guess.
Right, so nothing was really normalized, and this led her to uh, self-diagnose as crazy
Mhm.
and develop what she jokingly calls magic powers, like this acute ability to predict fights, spot shame triggers.
Ah, the hypervigilance.
Exactly. And figuring out the different flavors of teasing people use to manage stress.
And her personal history, as you said, it directly fed into her research over, what, 2 decades?
Yeah.
She found the biggest hurdles to developing brave leaders, cultivating courage. They often boiled down to 3 main things:
Okay.
people avoiding pain, sometimes even by inflicting it or misusing power.
Oof.
Yeah. Then, a real struggle holding others accountable without just rationalizing bad behavior. And third, just a fundamental lack of understanding about how our feelings, our thoughts, and our behaviors all weave together. Makes you wonder how often we misread our own emotional drivers, doesn't it?
It really does. And one of the most compelling bits of the Atlas for me is its precise definitions of emotions. She roots them in these really relatable experiences.
Yeah.
For instance, in the chapter, Places We Go When Things Are Uncertain or Too Much, she uses this brilliant analogy from her past. Waiting tables.
Oh, the waitress analogy.
Yes, to explain the difference between feeling stressed and feeling overwhelmed.
It's so vivid. Being stressed is like being in the weeds in a busy restaurant. It's common. It's usually manageable.
Right.
You can ask for specific help, like, hey, can you run bread to tables 2 and 4?
Got it. Actionable.
Exactly. But being overwhelmed, she says, is being blown. The kitchen goes quiet, someone else just takes over your tables completely,
Whoa.
and you have to step away. So the distinction is crucial. Stress is evaluating things as maybe beyond your current ability to cope right now. Overwhelm is that extreme level where you feel literally unable to function. It's when life feels like it's unfolding faster than the human nervous system and psyche are able to manage well.
That description. Yeah.
And knowing that difference means you can respond differently, right? If you need targeted help or a full stop.
Definitely. Knowing the word helps you know the need. Okay, and speaking of overwhelming feelings, let's unpack anxiety. Brown uses a really vivid image for this one. The Willy Wonka shit tunnel.
Yeah, it's memorable, isn't it? That scene of just escalating fear, loss of control, nothing makes narrative sense.
Exactly. And she explains anxiety exists both as a state like temporary,
Mm-hmm.
and a trait, a more long-term characteristic for some people.
And what's really insightful here is her research on how we try to cope. Things like worry and avoidance.
Oh, yeah.
Many of us worry because we kind of mistakenly think it's helpful, maybe prepares us.
Right, like problem solving.
But it's not. Or we think it's uncontrollable, so we try to push the worry thoughts away, which, guess what? Makes them stronger.
Exactly. Strengthens them.
Yeah.
And similarly, avoidance. Dr. Harriet Lerner's point is key here. Avoidance isn't the fear itself.
Right.
It's the problem. Because, as Lerner says, you want to feel comfortable, so you avoid doing or saying the thing that will evoke fear. Both worry and avoidance just end up reinforcing anxiety long-term.
That's a really tough cycle to break, but important to recognize. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Another common area. Places we go when we compare.
Comparison.
She uses the swimming lanes analogy. You can't help but glance over at the lane next to you.
Always looking sideways.
And she defines comparison as the crush of conformity from one side and competition from the other. It's trying to simultaneously fit in and stand out, which sounds exhausting.
It is, and she calls it a creativity killer.
I can see that.
Absolutely. And related to this, but often confused, are envy and jealousy. The atlas gives us some really clear distinctions.
Okay, yeah. People use those interchangeably all the time. They do. So envy is when you want something someone else has. Could be their looks, their talent, their money, whatever.
Right. Just between you and them, basically.
Usually, yeah. And sometimes it comes with a bit of hostility, that underlying, I want that, and actually I kind of don't want you to have it.
Ooh, okay.
Jealousy, though, typically involves three people, or maybe a person and a thing, like a hobby.
3. How so?
It comes up when you fear losing someone or something important in a relationship to someone else or something else. It's this cognitive evaluation, often fueled by anger, sadness, or fear about that potential loss.
Got it. So jealousy involves a threat to a connection you already have.
Exactly, a perceived threat.
That distinction is really helpful. And from there, it's maybe not a huge leap to resentment, which Brown admits she's wrestled with a lot.
It's a common one.
She defines it as the feeling of frustration, judgment, anger, better than, and or hidden envy related to perceived unfairness or injustice.
That covers a lot of ground.
It does. And her biggest learning, which is so useful for, well, for all of us, was shifting her internal question, moving from what is that person doing wrong?
Right, the blame.
To asking herself, what do I need right now, but I'm afraid to ask for? Wow, that one lands.
That reframe is incredibly powerful, isn't it? It moves you from feeling like a victim of unfairness to someone who has they need to voice agency.
Agency, exactly. And speaking of powerful reframes, the Atlas introduces Schadenfreude, taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune.
We all know that one, even if we don't admit it.
Right. But then it's positive opposite, Freudenfreude, taking joy in another's success.
Which feels so much better.
Totally. Brown uses Abby Wambach's point and run example.
Oh, the soccer celebration. Yeah.
Where you genuinely celebrate your teammate's goal, pointing at them, running to them, even if you weren't the one who scored. It's pure Freudenfreude.
And it highlights that huge difference between real connection, genuine shared joy, and what she calls counterfeit connection, which is often built on shared negativity or gossip, like bonding over hating the same thing.
That's a great point. Freudenfreude feels like active connection building. Okay, let's move to places we go when things don't go as planned, starting with disappointment.
Simple definition for that one?
Yeah. Unmet expectations. Pretty straightforward. But here's where it gets really interesting. She introduces stealth expectations.
Stealth expectations. Love that term.
Me too. It's those unexamined, unexpressed pictures we carry around in our heads. Expectations nobody else even knows exist.
And these are so dangerous, relationally speaking.
Yeah.
Because they almost guarantee disappointment down the line.
Right. How can someone meet an expectation they don't know about?
Exactly. And it often leads to blame. Brown shares a personal story about her first married birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Where her husband didn't deliver on this big celebration she'd pictured in her head, but hadn't actually told him about.
The classic stealth expectation trap.
Totally. And her therapist asked her this really powerful question. If you're not asking for what's important to you, maybe it's because you don't think you are worth it.
Oof, that's deep. It really makes you pause and think, what are my own stealth expectations in my friendships, my work, my family?
It's a crucial question for self-reflection.
Absolutely. Okay, then there's regret. The no regrets mantra is pretty popular these days.
Yeah, you see it everywhere.
But Brown pushes back hard on that. She believes no regrets actually means living without reflection.
Interesting take.
She argues regret is actually a fair but tough teacher. One of our most powerful emotional reminders that we need to reflect, change, grow.
So not something to be avoided at all costs.
Not at all. Something learned from.
Mm-hmm.
She resonates with George Saunders' idea of regretting failures of kindness most.
That's powerful. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, regret, when you actually engage with it constructively, it really is a call to courage and a path toward wisdom. It shows you where you lived outside your values, and it motivates you to be braver next time. The discomfort is where the growth happens.
Turning regret into a catalyst. I like that. Okay, shifting again. Places we go when things aren't what they seem.
Ah, the land of complexity?
Totally. The Atlas highlights our amazing capacity for, competing emotions and contradictory thoughts all at once. It introduces cognitive dissonance.
Right, that mental discomfort.
That tension you feel when you hold conflicting ideas.
Yeah.
And it pushes you to resolve it somehow, make it make sense.
But what's fascinating is how she contrasts that with paradox.
Okay, how's that different?
While cognitive dissonance wants resolution, wants to smooth things out, paradox challenges us to actually hold the tension, to sit with two conflicting things and recognize they might both be true.
Can you give an example?
A great one she uses is, vulnerability is the first thing we look for in other people and the last thing we want to show them about ourselves.
Yes, that's definitely true and definitely paradoxical.
Exactly. It encourages us to embrace that complexity, not run from it.
That's a skill in itself.
Yeah.
And related to things not always being what they seem. Irony and sarcasm,
Can be tricky.
they can definitely strengthen bonds, she notes, especially with friends who really get your humor, long-term friends.
Yeah. Inside jokes and all that.
But she offers a really important watch-out, a question to ask yourself. Are you dressing something up in humor that actually requires clarity and honesty?
Ooh, good one. Using sarcasm to avoid a difficult, direct conversation.
Exactly. That really makes you reflect on your own communication, doesn't it?
It really does.
So, okay, we've mapped a lot of this emotional landscape. What's the ultimate point? Where does this atlas lead us?
Well, the Atlas concludes it's all ultimately in service of cultivating meaningful connection.
Meaningful connection. Makes sense.
And Brown presents this not as some easy thing, but as a daring, vulnerable practice built on three key pillars.
Okay, what are they?
Grounded confidence, the courage to walk alongside others, and story stewardship.
Grounded confidence, walking alongside, story stewardship.
Wow.
Okay, let's dig into practicing the courage to walk alongside. What does it look like?
It means being really other-focused in our interactions, using language deliberately to connect, being compassionate, empathic, non-judgmental.
Sounds like deep listening.
It is. It's rooted in this Spanish concept, acompañar. It means to accompany, to be with people in solidarity, not trying to, fix them or direct their path.
So not trying to take control.
Exactly, because the near enemy, as she calls it, of truly walking alongside is controlling the path. It might look like helping, but it's actually about our own needs. Our need for comfort or control or to feel useful becomes self-focused.
That's a subtle but really critical difference. And it connects to another key point she makes, right? About not being able to know what someone's feeling just by looking.
Yes. This is huge. She emphasizes we cannot recognize emotion in others through observation alone. Why? Because too many emotions and experiences present the exact same way. Someone crying could be sad or relieved or overwhelmed or even happy.
So true. So if we can't tell by looking, the solution is?
We ask them. Simple but profound. Use language. What's going on for you? How are you feeling?
Just ask. Okay, and that leads us to the third pillar, story stewardship.
Story stewardship. Yes. This is about honoring the kind of sacred nature of stories, both the ones we tell about ourselves and maybe even more importantly, the ones people share with us.
Honoring stories. How do we do that? How are we good stewards?
We're good stewards when we really listen, when we stay curious, when we affirm their experience, not necessarily agree, but validate their experience. And crucially, when we believe people when they tell us how they experience something.
Believe their experience. That feels vital. What are the pitfalls, the near enemies here?
Two big ones. narrative takeover, where you hear their story and immediately make it about you. Oh yeah, that happened to me once.
Oh, yeah. Hijacking the story.
Exactly. And the other is narrative tap out, where you just show disinterest, you check out, change the subject, shut it down.
Right. Both break connection.
Totally. And this really reframes empathy, too. It highlights that empathy is not walking in someone else's shoes. It's
That
being curious and building narrative trust as they tell you about the experience of being in their own shoes. It's about listening to their story, not projecting yours onto them.
being curious and building trust as they tell their story.
Yeah,
Wow. That feels like a much more respectful and effective way to connect.
it really is.
What an incredible deep dive this has been into Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart. We've gone from, emotional granularity shaping our world through stress versus overwhelm, envy versus jealousy, the unexpected power of regret, all leading to these practices for truly meaningful connection.
Indeed. And this ongoing deep dive into our emotions, our experiences, as Brown puts it so well, it's our life's work.
Yeah.
The more we learn, the more layers we find, recognizing that feelings aren't simple. They're these complex layers of biology, our personal biography, our behaviors, our backstory.
It's a continuous journey. So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our curious listener? Maybe the most profound takeaway from the whole atlas is this line: our connection with others can only be as deep as our connection with ourselves.
That's foundational.
It really is. It all comes back to building that grounded confidence by truly knowing, truly understanding who you are, what you feel, and what you need.
And accepting that in this life, we're going to know incredible sorrow, yes, and anguish, but also breathtaking love and joy. It's the full spectrum and the wild, ever-changing nature of all these emotions and experiences. It leaves our hearts, as she beautifully writes, stretch-marked and strong, worn and willing.
Stretch-marked and strong. I love that. So for you listening, maybe consider this week. Just try to notice one or two new nuances, maybe in your own feelings or in how you interact with others.
Yeah.
How might actually naming what you're feeling, or maybe asking someone else to name theirs, how might that change your next conversation, or even just your own internal experience?
A small step towards greater connection.
Exactly. Thank you for diving deep with us today.